Hey y'all, give me just a moment. Getting the word out on Spoutable, then we will get this started. You know how I like to do, whether chat fills up or not, we go at 7. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC, and we have a lot to talk about. It has been a crazy week. As you know, even if you don't live here in the States, we are going through some things with our 2024 elections. I brought up on Wednesday because I had to uh, replace Chilla Tuesday with Wednesday because we've been going through rolling heat waves here. And while I'm in my room again tonight because it's the coolest place right now, and I'm not saying it because it's cool, it's literally cooler in here even with the rain. So I'm just going to stream from here tonight, and then I will be back at my desk tomorrow for the Saturday live. It's a lot of growing pains here in the US and parts of Canada too with the heat wave. So I'm just going to be comfortable. I don't care. My comfort comes first. But I talked about it on Wednesday, the Project 2025 mess. And when I say that, I'm not being hyperbolic, that the GOP really want to usher us into a fascist state. I am going to bring up the Times article, which summarizes just a little bit better, because I forgot to get to it on Wednesday, because I was just so flabbergasted reading all the people that contributed to this stuff. And then I got to the point last night where they were talking about retooling Homeland Security so that they could be a personal security force. And I was like, there is so much to cover. And welcome, Turtle Run. I missed you too. Between the house stuff, then taking vacation. I'm hopefully back for the rest of the foreseeable future. But I will always let you guys know when I have to take stuff off. It is, and thank you, Plutonium Pixie. Well, I'm just going to call you Pixie because I know you as Pixie. It's scary because so many people think, well, it can't happen. These are the same people that said that in 2015, called me hyperbolic when I said the moment the GOP did not dismiss Trump, it was going to be bad because this man is a walking, talking disaster. And now the same people are still trying to play that game, and we cannot afford it, especially when they're being this bold with their Project 2025. But people forget, the man is a convicted felon. He already got convicted in New York for hush money schemes, which I know a lot of people want to downplay, but he's also the key figure in the January 6, 2021 sedition. These people literally raided our Capitol trying to overturn a free and fair election, and he, for years, pushed that the trial, not the trial, I got trial on the brain, that the election had voter fraud and there was irregularities and all kinds of lies. I hate him too, Turner Rudder. We lost so many friends and family because of that fucker. But he kept pushing the election fraud, things were stolen, everything was stolen. And now, thanks to this clip by MSNBC, we're going to show that he knows he lost. This is a man who he just can't admit that he's a loser. And anybody who supports him knows that they're supporting a liar who has a very, I'm going to say, selective habit of his memory. And your black outreach needs to stop. You're embarrassing yourself and yourself. How are you going to Detroit? Going in a black church. I'm going to ignore the fact that that pastor's an idiot. And filling it up with non-black people. And the few black people that were there were just like, what? Why? Man, it couldn't be me. Stay out of the black neighborhood. You already called Milwaukee, parts of New York, Maryland, and plenty of other places that are predominantly black war zones. You sat in a Detroit church and talked about the crime when the crime rate is less than what goes on in my own hometown in New York City. When you ignore that they have revitalized plenty of parts of Detroit and other parts of Michigan because we now make the chips for EVs and all kinds of vehicles that run on clean energy. We have weed money in our state now. Keep Detroit's name out your motherfucking mouth, Trump, just like I said to the heifer. I'm saying it to you. If you're not here to actually uplift, you don't need to be here. We don't need your negativity in our fucking state.
He had said something to the effect of, I don't want people to know we lost, Mark. This is embarrassing. Figure it out. We need to figure it out. I don't want people to know that we lost.
Wow.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. Trump knew all along, right, that he lost.
I hate that music
even
that
though
they
he
use, but I hope that they actually have him in recording saying this, because secondhand testimony isn't good enough in our court of law, sadly. So I'm hoping they have him dead to right. I know he was talking to Mark, so I'm thinking they do have him on videotape, but we're going to keep playing this because he is the one that legitimately pushed that the election was stolen, that there was irregularities, that people were doing awful stuff. I heard that swollen face go, yeah, turtle runner, yep, and I forgot that. And exactly, the whole 2025, Project 2025 is literally, they have put it out there that is for promoting white supremacy. So we're going to go over that again tonight at some point too, because it's messy. That's why I named it What Some Want to Do for Our Country and What We Have to Stop It. Because I got another react later on that shows that some of these people have nothing else better to do than to mess with us. And they got to stop.
Age now for 4 years that the 2020 presidential election was somehow stolen from him. In private, even Donald Trump has admitted the truth. Even Donald Trump knows the truth. It's the truth he's so embarrassed about that President Joe Biden, he refers to him as this guy, beat him in the 2020 presidential election.
Yeah, because we wanted
Today,
confidence.
in a brand new tape, never heard before, we're hearing that private admission in the ex-president's own words, on tape. A remarkable slip of the mask, right? Trump's facade made during one of his half-dozen interviews with writer Ramin Sotoudeh, author of a brand new book chronicling Trump's time as host of The Apprentice.
Wow.
We spoke with Ramin on this program yesterday. He told us about this moment.
Exactly.
Here's that never-before-heard exchange.
He has done that so many times, because he did it in the Bronx, too. Even held two soon-to-be convicted felons up there because he thought it would relate to us more. Trump is always pandering the wrong way to the wrong people because he ain't getting the black vote, especially the black female vote. We don't think so, man.
Came up when Trump was talking about former Fox News commentator Geraldo Rivera. Listen.
Wow. What was Geraldo like?
He was good. He did a good job.
Yeah.
He was smart, cunning. He did a good job.
And are you guys still close, or are you no longer?
No, I don't think so. He is. After I lost the election, I won the election, but when they said we lost.
You did not win the election. 20 million more of us told you where you can go. 20 million more of us who lost friends, family to a preventable pandemic. Who you weren't even going to give COVID relief money, but it was Nancy Pelosi who put your fucking feet to the fire to get the first payment out. You had no vaccine rollout for us. You are a fucking walking disaster. And 20 million more of us mobilized, organized, and got the word out so that we could kick your ass and fire you from the presidential position, Mr. Trump.
He called me up 3 or 4 times. I didn't take his call because I was so busy fighting it.
Lies.
You know, with what went on. And we've caught him. I don't know if you see it, but you will.
You didn't call anybody, and that's why Fanni Willis is hitting you with them 91 indictment charges for election. You were basically trying to commit extortion. Miss Shea and Miss Ruby in the South had death threats against them because they were doing their jobs as poll workers and election officials. You were trying to bully the American people into putting you back in the office, and we said no. Fuck no.
But he called me up 3 or 4 times. And finally I had a little time. I called him back. And he went on Fox and he started talking about the president called me. I didn't call him. I returned.
You just said you had a little time. You called him. And then you said you didn't call. See, but people want to talk about Joe Biden. Now, granted, I've said before, and I will say it again, Joe Biden was not my first pick in 2020 election. 2019, I was pro Kamala Harris, and I still am. I am, fingers crossed, hoping that I get to call her Madam President one day. I don't care what side of the political aisle or how politically invested you are. Some of you have the luxury not to be politically invested. For me, it's life or death. So I want to know who's governing me. There's a reason why I support Big Gretch here in Michigan. she's doing the thing. So yeah, I have always called myself a pragmatic Democrat when I lived in the South. I voted both for Republicans who could get the job done and Democrats who could get the job done. Because back in the day, especially, you could kind of rely on conservatives. Not no more. I say the last 20 years they've been fucked up. And they're only getting worse. But you're trying to compare this man's cognitive decline to Joe Biden, who stutters and has admitted to stuttering, who has a whole team of officials and cabinet members and a VP that have his back. The man knows what he's doing. He was a senator. He has moved up the ranks. He was vice president himself. He understands both domestic and foreign policy. Yet all the media wants to do is compare. When this man literally in the same sentence said, I didn't call him, when you just said you called him because you had time. We can't be playing these games. Exactly, Pix. And he is, when you hear him speak, unless he is passionate about something, you rarely know that he has those problems. But the media always tries to play up President Biden's issues because they want a horse race, and we can't afford a horse race.
His phone call, and he started talking very personally about how I was feeling, how I was doing, and I said, that's really a betrayal. I didn't talk about how I was feeling.
How is it a betrayal? Because he didn't agree with the fact that you lost the election, my dude. The fact that you say that anybody that doesn't, he reminds me, Chantal. I hate bringing up the heifer, but she does. Anybody that doesn't agree to the things that he is in or what he believes to be true, even if it's not, it's a betrayal. Grow up. You're over 70. You're almost 80 at that, you freaking weirdo.
It was a phone call that lasted very quickly. Just, hey, how you doing, Geraldo? How's it going?
So how did you tell him it was a betrayal if it was just a really quick phone call?
It's not my deal. He's not my psychiatrist.
I doubt you have
one. But he
one.
made it sound like it was such a big deal. It was a nothing. All I did was return his call. But he said, the president called me, like I'm reaching out to him. And I haven't spoken to him since.
But you just said you reached. Okay.
So despite Trump's efforts to put his mask back on, right, to quickly cover it up, you heard the truth pour out of him. Call me after I lost. Geraldo. I mean, I won, but he lost. He lost. He knows it. And speaking conversationally, he admitted it on tape.
And Fanni Willis can use it. It's okay, Beans. Welcome to the chat, hon. And I meant to welcome both Pix and Turtle Run and thank you both for sitting in. But not only does he admit it, even though some people would say, no, it was a slip up. He meant to say he won. No, he lost. He knows he lost. And instead of accepting the free and fair elections, which would have made him look more mature, would have maybe given him more of a leg up this year, which not really, but come on. He incited the January 6, 2021 insurrection. He said to the democratic process, I am going to force my way. I'm going to have these Americans sacrifice themselves for me to break into the U.S. Capitol and try to halt the election process and steal what they needed to steal. A woman got shot and killed for her stuff. I'm not going to say her name because that's disrespectful to those of us who know what say her name means. She was a fucking military person, so she should have known better, and she got her ass fucking killed for it. If it wasn't for a brave officer, Goodman, who led the rioters away from a lot of places they could be damaged, it would have been far worse. And a lot of idiots are now sitting in jail and are being found more and more each day because they live streamed their shit. They put their shit on social media and now they're crying before the judge. Oh, I gotta go to Cancun. I can't go to prison. You should have thought about that before you became an insurrectionist. All for a crumb bum who still ain't gonna pardon you because he's never getting that presidency back. He's a convicted felon, and that's all most of the Democrats have to put in their ad campaigns. I would not want our country governed by a convicted felon that wants to move us into fascism. I'm just saying. But we're gonna switch gears just a little bit and go to this Time article because I just do not think people understand how dangerous Project 2025 is still, and how this is literally a GOP manifesto at this point. Well, why is it dark time? Come on. If you were on Twitter or TikTok over the weekend, you might have seen people talking about Project 2025. Led by the right-wing think tank Heritage Foundation, Project 2025 is a presidential transition operation, a presidential takeover. Let's get it straight. A transition means you are setting up power and boundaries beyond your presidency. This is completely selfish and a power grab for the right. Basically, government in raiding if former President Donald Trump returns to office January 2025, which, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm going to make sure that shit don't happen. The $22 million effort does not say it is specifically intended for Trump, but that it wants a conservative as the next commander-in-chief. And I'm going to be blunt. The last few conservative presidents we have been complete fucking disasters. Reagan with Reaganomics that put our country into an economic tailspin. It's supposed to trickle down and lift everybody up. And all he did was give rich people way more resources that they pissed away. A literal stock market crash in '88. People living in cars. Closing down mental health facilities. It was a fucking mess. Then George Bush Sr., not George W., don't want to jump the gun yet. George Sr. said no new taxes. Had to bring that back. Ended up being a one-term because of that shit. We got Bill Clinton, who was messy, but he got a lot of stuff done, including the rollback of people being able to have AR-15s and weapons of destruction after Columbine. Our economy was booming under him, and it led into Barack Obama, who I'll have to detail all the prosperity, but I will state that when we go after terrorists under a competent president like Barack Obama, we make sure he's buried in the sea. Then we went to George... Oh, no, wasn't George W. Bush between Barack... Yeah, I believe George W. Bush was between Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. I remember him because before Trump, he was the guy I used to clown on. Because they did shenanigans to get him into office. I remember because it was my first presidential election, and I voted for Al Gore in Florida with the hanging chads and all the fucking shenanigans. We stood in line for hours to cast that vote only for our shit to be hung up because Florida really wanted George W. Bush to be president, and I'm not blaming him for 9/11 because I think that's foolish, and I know a lot of conspiracy theorists will get mad at me. That was brewing since the Afghanistan thing that his daddy, when he was vice president for Reagan, had that hand in with the Iran-Contra. There was a lot of geopolitics that led to 9/11, and I don't say that lightly because it was my fucking hometown, along with Shanksville and D.C. that got attacked by these terrorists. But when I say that George W. Bush's worst things was Hurricane Katrina's handling, the way he handled September 11th and beyond, and just being an incompetent moron, the fact that 45 completely dwarfs all of that for me now tells you something. Because Hurricane Katrina was fucked up. And that's why I side-eyed Kanye for fucking being a Trump sniffer when it wasn't even 10, 15 years ago. You literally on a fucking relief thing, standing next to Mike Myers, said George Bush does not like black people. But now you're kissing the man's ass who calls us the blacks. Get some help, Kanye. You need it. Fact is, they raised $22 million for this plan of theirs to literally seize absolute power under Trump or a conservative president, and we need to keep our eyes open to this shit because it is not okay. They don't raise it for the kids, for impoverished rural areas that they swear they care about. They don't do that for better military budgeting and stuff, which is in their Project 2025, and it is a doozy. They have plans for our Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, which is ridiculous right now. Because war is profitable to them. But they don't want to really fund it properly. They just want them to be a personal peacekeeping, which means anybody that doesn't align with their agenda, anybody like me who speaks out, will be rounded up. It'll be totally like V for Vendetta. And if you think you're safe because you're non-melanated, but you happen to be LGBTQ, you happen to be of a different faith, or not religious at all, You got another thing coming because they will round you up, you atheists and stuff as well. It is not a joke to say this is dangerous to America. The project, published in 2023, is the nearly 1,000 pages. I only got the 460 page because I ain't got time for all those acknowledgments anymore. Handbook that details the conservative agenda for the next president. Project 2025 said on its website, the handbook is the next conservative president's last opportunity to save our republic. From what? From people living their best lives? From American people being able to live, grow, and prosper no matter what walk of life they come from? From people understanding their gender identity and getting life-saving? Because the depression that has taken trans Americans cannot be ignored. The depression that my LGBT friends have suffered for years because they couldn't be open. And now that they're allowed to be married, all of a sudden the conservatives want to have these agendas against y'all. It's not okay. And I am fucking sick of the conservative agenda because it's just a right-wing hate map at this point. It's not enough for conservatives to win elections, Project 2025 said. If we're going to rescue the country from the grips of the radical left, you mean as pragmatists who don't go too far either way and just want a country that can govern and stay prosperous? Okay. We need both a governing agenda and the right people in place. Like that guy in Texas that John Oliver talked about that already had his own campaign finance and other finance scams. But got to get off with community service. We already have a corrupt system that needs fixing, and the conservatives ain't going to make it better. To carry out this agenda, we need a conservative administration. That's the goal of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project. You mean the presidential coup. Because this is sounding like a coup. With the right conservative policies and recommendations properly vetted and trained personnel to implement them, we will take back our government. Ugh. I thought reading just the acknowledgments on Wednesday was giving me a headache, but this shit is a doozy because they just don't care about free and fair elections. They just want control. The handbook is a top-to-bottom overhaul, they said. The agenda includes a crackdown on abortion pills because they want us to be broodmares. Is the single greatest threat to unborn children? No. Conservatives are the single greatest threat to unborn children because if you don't get safe gynecological exams, and when you have a fetus that's non-viable, it could kill both the mother and the child. But I don't expect these morons who literally champion people who used to say things like what was the quote? Because I watched it on John Oliver again and I forgot about it. That one congressman who ended up being voted out, who said that a woman's body could naturally abort a legitimate R word. These are the morons that they want politicizing our uterus and bodies. I don't think so. They said the FDA needs to reverse the approval of pills, claiming that the approval process was politicized and illegal. Apparently not if it was passed. It is so crazy. And I haven't, Beans, but I know several women who had to make that choice. And unlike that heifer who says we abortion shame, I am very pro-choice. But I think that people don't understand that abortion isn't just for those who get pregnant accidentally and don't want it to happen. It is not just for those who really need the procedure. It is a choice that some people have to make based on financial, health, and the viability of the fetus. And it should be between a person and their doctor, not some fucking politician telling women what we can do with our bodies. And I will never stop saying that. It is so fucking exhausting that Dobbs rollback, that medicines that don't just get used for abortion but could cause abortive processes are now being recalled or held off in some pharmacies, thus hurting those who need diabetic medication, medication for anxiety, medication for all kinds of health stuff. That's what happens when you have a conservative that doesn't understand these things in charge. The Associated Press also called the handbook's language apocalyptic. These are the same people, and thank you for that, Beans. Methotrexate, thank you for that. Because there were so many meds that they had to halt for a while. That's why my governor had to literally put a mandate out there for our state and said that anybody who crosses over to our state to get these drugs will not be prosecuted in our state, because we know the safety of women's bodies. We know we don't want 9 and 10-year-olds carrying their abusers' children to term, because pregnancy is not a fucking joke, and it will cause a strain on a child's body. But the handbook encouraged the next presidential administration to re-examine the balance between the media. So all of you in the media who think you will be safe, no, you'll be rounded up by this regime. And space constraints on the White House premises, saying there's no legal entitlement. Let me highlight this again because it's dark for some reason. I don't know why Times does this. Just to get people to subscribe, and I'm not going to do that, sorry. Entitlement for the press corps to have permanent space on the press premises. So basically, he doesn't even want to do those White House correspondent stuff where they have press meetings and they address certain things. He just wants to say what he wants and be, like this says, authoritarian. The project relies on legal scholars that call the Unitarian executive theory, which dismisses the idea that there are separate branches for checks and balances. They want to gut the DOJ. They want the Supreme Court to be in their pockets. They want a total beholding Congress, which is not how this country works. We are not a monarchy. And they want to argue that Article 2 of the Constitution allows the president to have total authority over the executive branch. I don't think I need to say how dangerous that could be for any president, whether they are left, right, independent, or whatnot. The checks and balances are to keep people from being corrupted by absolute power, to keep us from being destabilized, to keep our economy and judicial system safe, to keep our educational system, which they want to gut as well. I really would suggest that you get my copy of the nearly 500-page Project 2025. It's hard to get through, but it is eye-opening, the bullshit that they want to push. And people are trying to ignore it. You cannot ignore fascism when it's knocking on your doorstep. It says some of these visions, they do start to bleed into some kind of authoritarian fantasies where the president won the election, so he's in charge. Everybody has to do what they say. That is not the system that the government we live under should be. Philip Wallach, a senior at the American Enterprise Institute, who studies the separation of powers, has said, he's gone on the record, these are people who understand how a functioning government, how a functioning democracy, whether you like it or not, win, lose, or draw, needs to be to keep us from going off the deep end. And yet, people are trying to say it won't be bad. They are literally naming how bad it can be. And this is time calling it for what it is. It is bad, y'all, and we cannot afford this level bad. But I'm going to get to a react that I think pretty much sums up the kind of people that we are up against. These people don't care about voting until they're trying to seize power. And while I don't watch TikTok, I love these TikTok compilations when people show us who they are. And I'm not going to show that one lady who's trying to be a new conservative icon, but now fighting with the conservatives. Because when you have a half white kid, they call you out heifer. So you dropping the M-word and being anti-black has done you nothing. And I really hope North Carolina continues to name and shame you. You're not going to have a conservative career. But we're not going to highlight you. We've got this one dude who is super obsessed with us. And these are the kind of people that in November will swear fealty to basically religious theocracy. So we're going to play some Cindy Villa. And really, exactly, Beans, they did. They want those fundings for their weird private schools. They want those vouchers. And I've had people up here in Michigan talk about the vouchers. I didn't have to do vouchers for kiddos' school because he went to the Learning Academy thing. But I see a lot of people of a certain demographic wanting those kind of schools that push hardline morality over actual education. And it's a dangerous, slippery slope. Just like with the homeschooling. I feel like a lot of people want to indoctrinate good little foot soldiers for fuckery, and that's dangerous for our country, for real. Yup, they do. But we're gonna get this fired off.
Hey guys, how are you all doing? It's your girl Cindy, and I'm back again today with another gist, guys. Thank you so much for clicking.
She's
to
so
watch
bright
this
and
video.
positive.
I just
I
want
like
us to have a
Cindy.
look at this video right here. Now, if you are on TikTok, I'm sure you must have seen this
I'm not, but
I'm sure you
I
know
have
who
seen him
Charlie
because
is.
of
I don't
you.
know if he's on any other platform. I don't follow him, so
He's a bum. I used to go in rounds with him and other white supremacists on Twitter. Beans, you remember. He was another one who tried me and got trounced. Jordan O sliding into my DMs. I wish I'd saved that shit. I'm not on X anymore, Twitter, or whatever the fuck apartheid edgelord wants to call it. But I remember him sliding into my DMs saying, you would be a good voice for the Conservative Party. Why don't you consider talking for us instead? And I told him to fuck right off. Mr. uses mommy's phone number for his campaign shit. Diamond and Silk going at me about foreign policy and immigration. The one guy, oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. That one token Indian guy that tried to go at me as well. Like, I've tussled with conservatives before, and believe you me, they all had the same fucking talking points. Pizzagate was like the fucking worst of it, too, because they were really moronic about that. And then the pedestrian emails, it was just a nightmare. Arguing with ignorance, basically.
So his videos sometimes will just pop out on my For You page. Now, I saw a lot of tweets from Black people responding to him. Now, he said a lot in this video about Black women, Black people, racism. I can't make this up.
He hates Black women because we are a solid voting demographic and we don't go conservative. You might have your token no edges that try to grift, but 91% of us know that our survival is based on who is governing us, and we ain't going for this GOP handmaiden and nonsense bullshit.
Please check this video out.
Exactly.
What percentage of young blacks have both a mom and a dad raising them?
I cannot think of...
Fuck you. A lot of us had dads in the military. There's a high percentage of Black women who were raised by their dad, like Serena Williams, who's the GOAT. So, fuck you and your racist talking points. Maybe if the conservatives didn't have that school-to-prison pipeline system going on, that Kamala Harris helped dissolve in her state of California when she was senator, we would have more whole Black families in a lot of places. But a lot of us was raised by both our parents, you idiot. I don't know. But that's another talking point they like to have.
A percentage right now to give you.
25%. So only 1 out of 4 blacks in America have a mom and a dad.
How many white men have killed their families? How many of them own AR-15s that have shot up their families? I'm going to say, you want to go after Black families, we can easily go after white families too, honey.
Do you think that is a bigger issue to address than racism? Do you think more?
It's not. Because I had a racist try to fucking fireball my family out of our home. I had a racist call my son the N-word at fucking 7. I had a racist call me the N-word as a teenager. Racism kills. Your ancestors probably wore fucking Klan sheets and hung my ancestors after they got freed. Racism kills. So get the fuck out of here. And it's still encoded in our justice system. That's why so many of us have to walk a fine line in our own fucking country. Fuck you.
Or dads is a better solution.
How could dads be connected directly? Like having
dads are very connected.
And what about... Okay.
When you have a dad around, you're less likely to be violent as a male, less likely to go to prison.
I don't think so. I raised my son for a few years by myself before I got my partner. He is the most gentlest being in the world. His father was violent, and he was raised by single white moms. So maybe you have a point on some moms. So you need to get the fuck out of here with that.
So explain to me why all the fathers are leaving.
Exactly. Why are they leaving?
They're not leaving.
Because
some of them are in institutions. And it is hysterical to me that he's like, why are they leaving? Like, he got a gotcha there.
Black women married the government and divorced the men.
What? I don't know about you, but the only person I'm married to is my partner. I've never been married to the government. I do want a functioning government because I do believe my survival is key in a functioning government. But this is the shit that Kirk shits out of his fucking mouth. And these radical right-wingers eat that shit up. Okay, let me keep going.
That they were once
some of the stitches.
Right. So I'm going to say that Charlie is obsessed with Black people, especially Black women.
He hates us.
I have seen a couple of his videos always targeting.
I wouldn't watch his video, Cindy Villa. Honestly, it is rubbish. And that is as nice as I could put it. He's another one that could use a Richard Spencer treatment. I used to love looping that gif of him getting punched.
Black women. I don't follow him, like I said, his videos will just pop out. I will see a few of them. I will just, you know what?
I don't see any of his bullshit, thank
God.
But
I saw the way Black people are reacting to this particular video. I decided to bring it here so we can see these stitches together. Now, reason being that in that video, you could see a lot of white people there and they were literally laughing. The moment he mentioned Black women, you know, they started laughing, right? I always say this, that people would take their word for it. And that is why we are going to see the stitches. Let's just hear what, you know, Black people are saying about this video. Please stay with me, guys. I also saw stitches from few white people, which I have put them together. Let's just hear what they said. Please check the stitches out.
Let's see.
1 out of 4 blacks in
I'm
America
hoping the villain
have
gets
a mom
him.
and a dad around.
You know how magicians get you to look up here? So
I like
you don't
this guy.
realize
He's
that
funny.
This has been in your face the whole time. Focus on the Black community. That way we don't have to talk about the problems in the white community. You're worried about raindrops. I'm worried about the flood. 75% of white-collar crime in 2022 was committed by white people. 75%. White household income is roughly $80,000 a year. Black household income is roughly $53,000 a year. I know you like a good per capita number, so 41 out of every 1,000 white people have a schmopioid addiction issue. 18 out of every 1,000 Black people. That's more than double. Mental health issues. 22 out of every 100 white. 17 out of every 100 Black.
I'm one of those 17, but
Hold
still.
on. The self-unaliving rate is 15.7 per 100,000 white, or 7.5 per 100,000 Black. Double and then some white people. Thought everything was good for us and we got all the good things. Why are we doing that to ourselves? And why aren't we talking about it? Now you also like to bring up welfare programs. You ready? SNAP or food stamps. 38.6% Caucasian. 24% Black. To those white people who say, I don't use welfare. Public school systems are...
Not to interrupt the young man for spitting the facts, but we had this going on Twitter back in the day too. Because a lot of people want to say welfare queens or welfare frauds, and I had a whole ass graphic full of the people, because it was back in 2016, I believe, that got convicted of actual welfare fraud, and they were all non-melanated. They weren't Asian. They weren't Hispanic. They weren't brown Southeast Asians. They weren't Black people. They were all Caucasians. But you want to talk about it like food stamps and stuff is shameful when it's Black people using them. Okay.
Our welfare programs, look it up. Not only is it money, but we also have a higher life expectancy. By like 4 years and 3 months.
So that Drinkable Brian's Stitch video really won a lot of Black people's heart. I checked the comment section out. They were literally praising him for spitting. So he responded to this comment because obviously it caught his attention. This person invited him to the cookout.
I'm not giving cookout passes no more. Y'all gotta know me.
We have to talk about white people at the cookout while I'm stuck in Atlanta traffic real quick. There's 2 variations. Either this comment, which is an invite, or 2 is usually the response to this comment that's like, stop inviting them. They don't need to be here. That second comment is right. I love the appreciation for what I'm saying, but that second comment more often than not is absolutely right.
Unless they related to you or a friend, pics, you're invited to the cookout. Beans, I don't have to, you and my sister, so I don't even have to say it. Total Runner, people I know, I'll invite to my own private cookouts. But I ain't inviting everybody who just says something I liked. We gotta stop giving these passes. Because some people take that shit way too far. Oh yeah, Dozens is gonna be all for reals.
We don't belong there. That's not a space for us. I'm a to-go plate guy at best. And to be honest, I'm just going to drop off some potato salad with raisins in it and keep it pushing.
No,
I understand
no
the invite
raisins.
as a gesture, and you're saying that you understand or appreciate what I've said. And I truly am grateful for that. I understand where you're coming from. Opposite end of that coin, though, is also like, yeah, respect the space. It's not... Don't let us in everywhere. We don't have a great track record with being everywhere, you know? At one point I had a cool idea for all of my followers. We can like, hey, meet up at the park and we can all have barbecue. Ooh, you're about to gentrify the cookout.
No.
Maybe don't. And what?
No, you can have cookouts, babies. Let's not go that far. There's a difference between our cookouts and everybody else's, but I don't want anybody thinking that black people trying to only take cookouts. There are plenty of white people that can throw down good barbecue. Kansas City is known for it too. So, no, we don't want you thinking that you can have your own cookouts. Let's not go that far.
White people who are asking to come to the cookout, it's gross. It's a cultural where's my hug. Don't know how to act.
I feel the same way about you.
Alexa, play Overnight Celebrity by Twisted.
You and Nala Boo
Need new tires? For as little as $0 down, you can get the tires you need now. It's the easiest way to buy.
So this video right here again won people's heart. You know, in the comment, they were praising him again and saying that he is the real one. And also the part that he talked about bringing or dropping off potato with raisins got a lot of people laughing. Anyways, I just thought I should show you this clip. Let's continue with this.
But please don't put raisins in potato
what about,
salad.
Okay.
When you have a dad around, you're less likely to be violent as a male.
Hello. The way my algorithm is set up, I'm pretty sure
I love her bonnet. I'm gonna try to get some custom bonnets to give out
because
to
I'm not like a super duper content creator.
I know you won't bring raisin
a
potato
woman
salad, dear.
With a Android phone. Could someone please let that male menacing jackass know that the majority of mass shootings are done by white males with white fathers in the home?
Just that happened here in Michigan 2 years ago in a town that I used to live near. He had both his parents who bought him an AR-15 who could give fuck all about his mental health. And he took 7 lives. But tell us more again. Tell us more again how having both the father and the mother in the house helps. I'm pretty sure the Buffalo shooter had both his parents too. Dylan Roof. James Holmes. The guy that shot up Stoneman Douglas in Florida. That Cruz kid. Yeah. Go on.
I'm not sure what the percentage is, but he needs to focus on what
I will say that Wisconsin murderer who didn't even live in Wisconsin, he was drove by his mommy to shoot protesters and got away with it. I don't think his dad was in the picture, but I guess he's an outlier for y'all.
The solution to stop mass shootings.
Yes, the Sandy Hook guy too.
Instead
there
of focus
so
on
many of them.
black
Oh God,
fathers,
I don't want you Xbox.
Focus on his white
Xbox
counterparts, okay?
Because black women divorced black men and married the government.
Well, white men divorce white women and marry the secretary.
Why is it the worst in black America? There's also a cultural problem.
When you say cultural problem, is that the same thing as incest?
Is that the same thing as your pastors preying on little kids? Is that the same thing as men getting so frustrated and volatile and can't even talk to a woman, so you decide they're just going to take as many lives in their own? Because I think y'all have more of the cultural problem. Our culture's bumping. K-Dot just had an amazing concert the day after his birthday for Juneteenth. Our culture is going to be bumping all summer. They're not like us. So, I don't know. Maybe not compare cultures right now there, Chief. It's not looking good for yours.
Average music that a black person in Compton is listening to.
How do you know what...
How do you know what's going on in Compton? Not to interrupt the brother. because I'm not from Compton, I'm from New York City. And I know plenty of black people that listen to all kinds of music. For us, music is universal. We can bump it with classic, with country, with rock, with heavy metal, with rap. I listen to just about anything lyrically. I drive my partner nuts sometimes because he'll sometimes be stumped trying to name a song and I can name it. Because music is a big part of my writing process, of my growing up. I grew up on the Beatles. I had Carly Simon playing. I had LL Cool J, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin. There was so much going on in my house music-wise. Prince, Michael Jackson, George Michael, Cyndi Lauper, and I still listen to all that music. 80s synth pop, 80s synth rock, 80s rock and roll, grunge, hair bands, heavy metal. So fuck you talking about what black people listen to. I know you don't know black people, man, when you say shit like that.
The average.
Exactly, Pix. It was Imagine Dragons Radioactive that gave me the scene in Axiom that a lot of people are going to read if they read that book. And when she finds a certain person, I'm trying not to give too many spoilers because I know some people just got the book too. And somebody in FFG's chat tell me they just got the book. But there's a specific scene in my novel that Radioactive by Imagine Dragons, that scene just kept playing over and over and over in my head, and I was like, I have to write this out. This has to be these characters, how they meet, and it works. And then Believer fits their relationship as well, because eventually they do develop a relationship. I know that's a spoiler, sorry, not sorry. I am for real all about music helping me write. That's going to be a topic in the next writer vlog too, within reason, because I don't need to be copyright struck. I get it all the time because I don't make YouTube coin that much. So I don't like censor out certain music things because it's not that deep for me. But I do want people to understand that writing and music can help your words flow, can help you see the scenes that you craft stuff. So it's really insane to me that he says stuff like this. Because right now, Rob Zombie's more human than human. You can't tell me that doesn't describe the BHM. I'm just saying.
Black person is listening to in Compton.
Is it about contemplating the good, the true, and the beautiful, or is it about being a gangbanger and trying to get as much money?
I would love for him to say that to an actual gangbanger. Because, honey, you don't know gangbangers. Shut the fuck up. They are the most organized in organized criminality that they are, and they will fuck your lily white behind up.
And sleep with about as many girls as you can.
So what type of music do you think school shooters listen to?
And hold on, in white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities, it's a fact.
Okay, so your goal is not only to divide race, you also are wanting to divide with religion.
Yep.
Norms, and the norms that have infected Black America are destroyed.
You mean the norms that, like I said, it wasn't even 7 or 8 Bonnet Chronicles ago, I talked about them youth pastors who preyed on children. How a lot of y'all look away from some of them churches that literally forcefully hit on children. And I don't mean sexually, they just literally beat children and say, spare the rod, spoil the child and shit. Y'all are channeling out these little fucking psycho and sociopaths. And I say this as a diagnosed one. I had to leave the pew because of some of that shit too. But you want to talk about how much better it is? Okay, whatever.
Growing it from within.
You do understand the irony in having this conversation with a group of non-black individuals, correct?
He doesn't care.
Guys, my worst fear has been actualized. I've been referenced in a South Park episode.
Okay, Lizzo, later.
Do you think that is a bigger issue to address than racism?
I don't get this logic. To exaggerate this, to me, this is like asking, what is a bigger problem to address? Genocide or starvation?
Exactly, sir.
Because starvation is not necessarily in most instances.
It is so scary how many of us have
circumstance you choose to be in, or anyone is choosing to be in. Much less, it is not the child's fault if the parents are not in the picture most of the time. Whereas genocide is somebody's active choice to intentionally harm somebody else, like racism, that is also leading to numerous amounts of death.
Yep.
And bad calls, political plays, this, that, and the third. Institutionalized racism is not something you can really argue against.
Yep.
So, deciding whether you would rather stop assholes from intentionally being bad people or
somebody's phone's beeping, sir.
Stopping world hunger doesn't really seem like a accurate question. It's a lot easier for the people in power who can make decisions to stop racism and stop genocide and to stop people from being bullies. It's a lot harder
to navigate it,
to stop family dynamics, especially when you can look through the history of Jim Crow laws and income.
And not to interrupt this young man, because the simple fact is, while it is hard to raise a child on your own, it is much harder to know that raising that baby, you have such a high percentage chance of them dying just from a stop and frisk. Just from being black in the wrong neighborhood or the wrong place at the wrong time. Racism is our #1 killer, whether people want to fucking accept that or not. Because it doesn't just affect us physically, it affects us mentally. It gives us heart issues from microaggressions. So people get fuck off trying to tell black people that racism isn't as much of a killer. Fuck right off with that.
Tax funding school districts and things along those lines.
Yep,
that intentionally set minorities into worse scenarios.
Food deserts, yep.
Which is the cause of racism, which led into the factor of more children of minorities being without both parents or two parents. Just my 2 cents. I think that's inherently a dumb comparison there.
So I took some screenshots of comments from his comment section so you guys can see what...
Exactly, that's hot one. White supremacy broke black communities, killed and jailed black men, which left women needing the government and not really needing the government. A lot of us, my mom, my grandmother, when my dad left, all of them rallied around. I grew up in a matriarchal household, after grandpa died especially. So for people to act like having strong black women in their life is bad, because you highlight some of the more ratchet youngins out there that do act out of pocket, and we elders call their asses out too, so I don't know where they're coming from with it. But to act like they represent all of us black women, are you fucking kidding me? We literally just put Ketanji Jackson Brown on the Supreme Court. We have had plenty of strong black women, from Shirley Chisholm to Kamala Harris, who has shown senatorial competency, government competency. We have writers, athletes, musicians, women of all backgrounds in the African diaspora coming here and making things better. Even now, nanotechnology, which my sci-fi is all about, is being headlined by a black woman who believes that she can create technospores to help things like cancer and other debilitating issues. Something I was writing about 10 years ago and finally formulated into a cohesive novel is being done in this day and age by black women. You will get all the way the fuck out of my face disrespecting us on that level. I have raised a high school graduate who is going on to study marine biology. I will not take the disrespect to my demographic. Because our ethnicity, in spite of this country looking down on us, thinking we're lowbrow, less than, eugenics telling us we weren't smart enough. College degree here. My son's going to have his college degree. I will not continue to take disrespect on my people's name. Fuck out of here. And about hip-hop, K-Dot's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And he was from the streets. But he definitely represents Black America and hip-hop culture the way it should be. So I'm just tired of these racists talking about black people when they don't know black people. And they're all over the place. Here, there, and everywhere. Spreading this poison because they need to feel better than us to feel better about themselves. It ain't working out for them. Because like that young man says, they have the higher suicide rates even though they're supposed to be better than us. Fact of the matter is, hate is a low-hanging fruit. And I'm not saying that there ain't bigotry everywhere, there ain't hatred everywhere, but systemic racism has hurt my people more than anything in this world. And if you think that you're safe because you think you might be a mild minority because they'll trot you out and pat you on the head, you just wait. Because if they can snuff us out or can't enslave us, like they did my indigenous ancestors when they realized they couldn't enslave them, y'all are next. And that's not being hyperbolic. That is the God's honest truth about that agenda. Whether it's Project 2025 or beyond. We've had issues there in Georgia where there's a bunch of farmers that have been convicted of legalized slave labor, which I'm not even sure how it was legal. They took a bunch of migrants' passports and papers and literally had them working in insane conditions for little to no money. When they transferred them to other people's farms. There are indictments still ongoing for that shit. You don't think they wouldn't try when they're literally in Florida trying to teach that there were beneficial things to the slaves who were slaves? Are you kidding me? We cannot play around with these people because they only want to harken back to the past for their happy times. When all the rest of us are trying to move into a fucking future where humans can grow and evolve and maybe have actual space exploration without wars. Y'all are already planning for a fucking space force. Because you can't fuck up our planet enough. Y'all want to fight out in outer space too. I'm sick of this. We cannot have progress with these kind of people. And I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for sitting in. Thank you, Turtle Runner, Pixie, Beans, so much for sitting in with me. I will be back tomorrow on YouTube with a new Calling Out the Heifer and stuff. But it's hot. I just started my monthly friend. I want to go get dinner made for Axie and Wolf and I and just chill for the rest of the night. Thank you all so much for sitting in. I will be back hopefully on Tele Tuesday. I don't think we're going to have another heat wave, fingers crossed, but I will keep y'all updated either way. Thank you all so much for constantly listening. I know politics isn't everybody's cup of tea or jam, but I am passionate about this because we cannot be rolled into fascism, not on my front. But yeah, I'm going to be on YouTube tomorrow. I am going to go and I'm going to upload this to YouTube later on. I'm going to go back to see if FSG is still live because I was laughing at the heifer earlier. But until then, I'm going to go cool down, make some dinner, take an aspirin because I'm starting to cramp up a bit. And I will see y'all all soon. Yeah, Saturday I will be on at 1, I believe, p.m. EST. But yeah, I am definitely... honestly, I thank them for the views. I know it makes them mad. Why the fuck are you watching me when you know I'm anti-Trump at this point? Stay out of my comment section if you don't want to get embarrassed. Or do. It's engagement. I'm not even going to freaking argue with these idiots no more. But I will definitely see you soon. Yeah, if they get nasty or racist, then yeah, they will definitely get blocked. We ain't playing that game. But they just want to say, go Trump 2024 like that dipshit the last one I did. Thanks for the views. But yeah, let me go. I will see y'all soon in other people's chats. I think One Salty Beach is going to be live tonight as well. I will definitely be there at 9. I will see y'all all soon.